He stole secrets from the United States government, which revealed that, yes, our own government was spying on ordinary Americans, invading our privacy. And guess what? It still continues to this day. Today, we're going to be talking about the famous 37-year-old whistleblower Edward Snowden, who was behind the biggest intelligence leak back in 2013, and his latest critiques of Bitcoin as part of an ongoing journey of ensuring privacy and raising some awareness around it. Important discussion. Now, on Saturday of this week, the former CIA subcontractor and privacy enthusiast, who's been in hiding as a result, has made his opinions clear about the allegations surrounding Bitcoin's privacy policy, and he had a strong retaliation against Alex Gladstein, who called Snowden's latest interview a disaster. And on May 6th, Snowden has made an appearance with Marta Belcher from the Electronic Frontier Foundation, where he spoke out about the financial surveillance from the government and how it's been getting out of hand for the last 50 years, and it's how all integrated in all aspects of our life, from everything we do. And by the way, when we think about the future of currency, when we think about the future of what the Federal Reserve plans to do with its own digital currency, they're going to know everything we are doing. So Snowden talked about how it's involved in basically studying our entire lives, every aspect of our lives, ranging from just simple little things and conditions that people rarely read to the dossier those corporations make for each user that when you're signing in. You don't read that stuff. It's TDLR, right? Too long, didn't read. TLDR. Too long, didn't read. Too long, didn't read. Anyway, most people don't ever pay attention to that stuff, and it provides an interesting sort of endless scroll for these companies. He explicitly explained that the Pandora's box is currently being opened as the public have now become more and more aware of the privacy rights. Well, stay tuned to this because we're going to talk about it a little bit later in the video. It was also mentioned that the government has applied the banking transactions severe surveillance. We're watching everything that's going on at the banking level since 9/11, to which Snowden replied, quote, "This is not the world we want to live in till the end of time." He then went on to explain that no one should be judged for wanting to be different for what he or she is interested in, or what he or she buys, or in any frequency, and that everyone has the right to be private about any chosen life aspect. So take a look at this clip taken from this interview.
The idea of the Bitcoin protocol, the peer-to-peer electronic cash system, is the idea that we can send these payments to anyone permissionlessly. And this is true if it's in your wallet. But how do people fill their wallets? They get it through exchanges. And these guys are imposing permissioning steps that are intermediary to the transaction. And the only way to defeat that is to allow some kind of purification step, right? Where we remove all of the taint, we remove all of the identification, we remove all of the cruft being imposed at this external level, this external layer in the system, and return it to this idea that we can have direct trade, we can have direct commerce, we can have direct interaction with anyone, anywhere, anytime. Until we recognize that and realize that and enforce that, or at least provide opportunity through the protocol level, crypto hasn't gotten to where it needs to be.
So Snowden clearly thinks that the Bitcoin developers have a long way to go when it comes to the privacy settings. Not long after that, Alex Gladstein, the Human Rights Frontier Foundation Chief Strategy Officer, shared his strong opinions about this interview. He tweeted that this is not the first time that Snowden has shared a bad take on Bitcoin and Taproot's privacy settings in retaliation to the transactions that have been made. And he's absolutely right. Back in December of last year, Snowden made an appearance with the famous YouTuber Naomi Brockwell, where he called out the Bitcoin developers' approach to addressing the scaling and privacy issues, and that it's puzzled him why it's taken years to do so. Like, he's made them aware of this years ago, but they still haven't done it. But following the interview with Marta Belcher on Decrypt's Ethereal, Gladstein then made a tweet where he called the Snowden critiques and the entire interview a total disaster. The tweet reads like this: "Respect Snowden for his work on privacy and his criticism of CBDCs, but this clip is a disaster. TLDR, too long didn't read, Taproot makes Bitcoin privacy worse. Lightning is shenanigans. Attacks core developers, hypes NFTs and privacy coins, except Monero, which he trashes. When Snowden coin? Say it ain't so. Will we see a Snowden coin?" Then Ari Paul, the CIO and managing partner of Block Tower Capital, replied by saying, "Just watch the clip. What he said is very different from your summary. Great project with known privacy vulnerabilities equals trashes." But the strategy officer went on with his negative feedback, replying to Paul's tweet saying that, what about the rest of you? You're okay with the conclusion that Taproot is bad for privacy and that Lightning is shenanigans, or that core developers have intentionally failed to improve privacy? So as Gladstein's tweet got more and more attention, Snowden had already noticed it and had this to say about it. He said, the worst part of cryptocurrency transforming into dragon-level wealth is witnessing good people emotionally devolve into dragons themselves, so intellectually paralyzed by fear that everyone they see threatens their horde and they lose sight of their world beyond their cave. This is such a profoundly misleading TLDR of a privacy-focused talk. It's hard to call it anything but intentionally deceptive. To the extent that I own crypto, unless and until it's been lost in boating accidents, I own more Bitcoin than anything else. But despite the theoretical risk of harming the value of that ownership, I continue to criticize Bitcoins and other cryptocurrencies that I hold. Their failings, because the public cost of doing otherwise, would be orders of magnitude greater than that individual private gain. Moral compass, Bitcoin's disastrous privacy is the missing stair of cryptocurrency. Every expert understands it's a problem, but as experts, they themselves know how to compensate for the risk in their own personal interactions with Bitcoin, and therefore feel no urgency to actually fix it. He went on then to defend his previously shared opinions about cash transactions, saying the central property of cash is its fungibility, meaning a dollar spent by a plumber is honored equally to one spent by a security worker. They are indiscriminate. Adversarial chain analysis of Bitcoin's public ledger reduced its fungibility over time. Only privacy guarantees fungibility, he said. But to others who had opposing opinions like Matt Corallo, Snowden said Taproot nor Lightning come even close to addressing Bitcoin's privacy problems, and in fact even provoke arguments for how they hurt it, at least short term. Eric Lombroso, who is a Bitcoin core developer, replied to Alex Gladstein's tweet saying, until he manages to successfully fork the Bitcoin protocol to add more privacy, he has no place criticizing others for not doing it. He clearly has no conception of just how difficult this is. Lombroso suggested that making Bitcoin a decentralized database with various stakeholders around the world more private was both a technical feat and an implementation challenge. However, Taproot will not be updated until November. So until then, expect to hear a lot more about whether it goes far enough in keeping with Bitcoin's privacy allegations, or if we're on the way of witnessing cryptocurrency becoming mainstream. What do you think? Do you agree with Snowden or Gladstein? Let me know in the comments. Is it safe enough?